It was the kind of announcement that sent shockwaves through the Duggar snark world and even left some longtime fans blinking in disbelief. Just days after marrying into one of reality TV's most famously fundamentalist families, Maddie Grace Duggar, wife of Jason Duggar, posted to Instagram with a glowing smile, a flowy blue dress, and a stunning confession. "I got baptized today." Wait, what? You heard that right? A Duggar married someone who hadn't been baptized, not even by Duggar standards? The moment was meant to be joyful, a personal spiritual milestone, but instead, it cracked open a floodgate of speculation, criticism, and, for many, outright confusion. How did this slip through the cracks of one of the most conservative Christian families in reality TV history? Was Maddie never baptized before, or just not the right way? And what does this say about the Duggar standards, especially now, when more and more family members are loosening the chains of their upbringing? We're diving deep into the baptism that's causing a holy stir online. From Reddit debates to fan theories, insider doctrine, and awkward optics, we're breaking it all down. So grab your Bible or your popcorn, because this story is about to get righteously dramatic. The Instagram post was innocent enough at first glance, a smiling couple in front of a massive cross, a caption filled with spiritual reflection, and a blue heart emoji. But once Maddie Grace Duggar wrote the words, "I got baptized today," all bets were off. For those unfamiliar with the Duggar family's deeply rooted beliefs, this may seem like a beautiful and personal step in Maddie's faith journey, but for Duggar watchers and former fundies, this wasn't just a personal post. It was a bombshell. Because in the Duggar world, baptism isn't just a symbolic gesture, it's a non-negotiable. It's the line in the sand that separates the saved from the lost, the pure from the worldly, and the idea that Jason Duggar, son of Jim Bob and Michelle, a product of strict IBLP teachings, would marry someone who hadn't been baptized. That's practically unthinkable, or at least it was. Maddie's caption reveals she was baptized at 7, but didn't feel it was sincere. She says she didn't start truly following Christ until 18, and now, post-marriage, she's made the choice to be baptized again, this time with intention. She writes, "I knew I wanted out of the sins that burdened me." That line alone raised eyebrows across Reddit threads and comment sections. What sins could she possibly be referring to at just 18? And more importantly, did the Duggars know all along that she didn't consider herself truly baptized? Some Reddit users speculated that Maddie had previously been baptized in a more mainstream or Pentecostal tradition, but it may not have counted under Duggar-approved doctrine. Others pointed to the theological differences in baptism styles, sprinkling versus full immersion, child versus adult, emotional sincerity versus doctrinal correctness. Whatever the case, Maddie's public admission left one glaring implication. She entered into the Duggar family, perhaps even walked down the aisle, without officially being what that world considers saved. And that realization sent Duggar snarkers into a frenzy. Thread after thread appeared on Duggar Snark with titles like "Pretty Shocked" and "A Duggar Married Someone Not Baptized." Fans and critics alike began unpacking the potential fallout. Had Jason Duggar compromised on his beliefs? Had the family loosened their standards? Or had Maddie been pressured into a rebaptism now that she was officially a Duggar wife? The responses ranged from theological analysis to full-on satire. One commenter joked, "Born-again Christians get rebaptized like people in rocky marriages renew their vows." Another deadpanned, "I want to know what she was doing between 7 and 18 to be so burdened." Others pointed fingers directly at the Duggars' rigid worldview, blaming their pressure-heavy theology for causing unnecessary spiritual anxiety. One of the most chilling comments came from someone who grew up in a similar environment. "I went to a church as a young adult that told me I couldn't be a true believer because I hadn't been baptized as an adult. I quit going to church instead." Maddie's caption, while heartfelt and personal, unwittingly echoed that experience. She talked about Bible collecting dust, and only later realizing she hadn't truly started following Christ. In many ways, her words mirror the kind of spiritual crisis common among those raised in high-pressure evangelical settings, where every faith milestone must be earned, proven, and emotionally intense. It didn't help that Maddie chose a soft, summery dress for her baptism post, something that might seem perfectly normal in most churches, but in Duggarland, showing shoulders and a bare arm is still a source of scandal. "Well, yeah, look at those exposed shoulders," one sarcastic Redditor quipped, adding fuel to the modesty-policing fire. Even more revealing was the post's engagement. It was liked by Jinger Vuolo, one of the more progressive Duggar daughters who has herself deconstructed much of her upbringing. That small gesture hinted that perhaps not everyone in the family was clutching their pearls over Maddie's announcement. Still, the implications are undeniable. Either the Duggars are loosening their iron grip on tradition, or Maddie Grace just gave them a PR nightmare. Let's talk about what this means in the context of Jason Duggar's upbringing, because this isn't just a personal faith milestone, it's a potential crack in the Duggar legacy. Jason, like all of Jim Bob and Michelle's children, was raised in the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, a fringe fundamentalist Christian organization founded by Bill Gothard. The IBLP's doctrine is steeped in strict gender roles, submission, purity culture, and yes, very specific teachings about salvation, including baptism. In IBLP-aligned churches, baptism is viewed as not just a public declaration of faith, but a mark of obedience. And obedience is everything. So, how did Maddie make it to the altar without ticking off this crucial box? Was Jason unaware of her spiritual timeline? Did Jim Bob and Michelle turn a blind eye because Maddie seemed like a good girl? Or, more controversially, did the Duggars knowingly allow their son to marry someone they didn't consider fully born again at the time? This is where things get muddy. Some Redditors believe Maddie was technically baptized, just not in the Duggar-approved method. One user pointed out she might have been sprinkled as a child in a Pentecostal or Presbyterian church, but now needed to be re-baptized via full immersion, which is more aligned with Baptist or IBLP standards. Others suggest Maddie's original baptism wasn't considered valid because she didn't understand it, something that fundy churches love to use as a reason to baptize teens and adults all over again. In essence, if you don't cry enough, pray hard enough, or feel bad enough about your sin, it didn't count. That mindset has led to what one Reddit user called religious OCD, where people go through multiple baptisms trying to get it right. Another said, "I was baptized 3 times before I turned 18. These aren't outliers, they're cautionary tales." Then there's the implication that Maddie was burdened with sin as a teenager. The language in her post, "the sins that burdened me," sparked debate about what a girl that age could possibly have done to feel such guilt. Some commenters, especially those with experience in fundamentalist upbringings, explained that sin can be as simple as missing a Bible study, listening to secular music, or having a crush. A user broke it down bluntly. Fundy parents use sin as a parenting tool, so she could have been told every time she didn't finish her vegetables or talked back that she was breaking the commandment of honoring her father and mother. That kind of spiritual pressure warps normal childhood behavior into something shameful, and it shows in how Maddie wrote about her own faith journey. Still, what makes this story so fascinating isn't just Maddie's baptism. It's the way it highlights a shifting tide in the Duggar universe. This moment would have been unthinkable just 5 years ago. Back then, the Duggars still held significant cultural power as America's most famous quiverful family. Their brand was obedience, modesty, and marrying carbon copies of themselves. Now, we're seeing that model start to unravel. We've seen Jinger move to Los Angeles and shed IBLP teachings. Jill walked away from the family entirely, exposing the emotional manipulation she endured. Even Joy Anna has posted outfits that violate the old dress code. And Jason? Jason married a girl who just publicly admitted she wasn't baptized until after their wedding. The old rules aren't holding up like they used to. It's hard not to see this as another step away from the Duggar dynasty's control. Whether Jason bent the rules or the family quietly evolved their standards, the message is the same: the walls are cracking. That brings us to the broader question: how many of the younger Duggar kids will continue playing by Jim Bob's rulebook? And how many are watching their older siblings break free, quietly planning their own escape routes? Maddie's baptism may have been about her relationship with God, but to Duggar watchers, it's also a signal flare. While Maddie's baptism post might seem like a personal religious update on the surface, its timing and content also shed light on a deeper cultural clash happening within the Duggar family, between tradition and modernity, conformity and authenticity. And nowhere is this more visible than in the reactions across the internet. One of the most debated details wasn't even the baptism itself. It was how Maddie looked. Her blue sundress, sleeveless and flowing, stood out starkly from the Duggar standard of long skirts and covered shoulders. For some Reddit commenters, this was just another sign that Maddie isn't your typical Duggar wife. For others, it was ironic that someone being baptized in a family obsessed with modesty was doing it in a dress that would have once been deemed scandalous in the Duggar household. But that irony only underscored the awkward tension between image and belief. This is a family that has gone to great lengths to cultivate a brand of purity, modesty, and perfect obedience. Maddie's post, with its subtle deviations in both faith timeline and fashion, felt like a quiet rebellion wrapped in a ribbon of devotion. And then there's Jason. Despite the firestorm online, Jason remained silent about his wife's baptism. No reposts, no commentary, no video of the ceremony, nothing. That silence spoke volumes. Is he quietly supportive? Embarrassed? Or simply uninterested in stepping into what has clearly become a lightning rod moment? One commenter summed it up best. Jason's facial expression looks exactly the same in every single photo I've seen of him as an adult. And indeed, the stoicism of Jason Duggar has become its own meme. But maybe it's more than just personality. Maybe it's a sign of the internal conflict he's facing, between loyalty to his upbringing and love for a woman who is walking a slightly different spiritual path. It's also worth noting the broader context. The Duggars, once the poster family for conservative Christian ideals, have been slowly unraveling in the public eye. The Josh Duggar scandal permanently stained their name. The Counting On series was canceled. More and more siblings are drifting from the family's belief system, and not always quietly. From Jinger's bombshell book to Jill's open defiance, the next generation of Duggars is rewriting their narrative in real time. And then Maddie enters the scene. Young, fashionable, outspoken about her faith, but on her terms. She's not trying to blend into the background. She's not afraid to be seen or to post a heartfelt caption about her spiritual transformation, even if it disrupts expectations. In many ways, Maddie Grace is a mirror to how the Duggar brand is evolving or fracturing. Because this isn't just about theology, it's about optics. It's about a fundamentalist family being forced to interact with the modern world and realizing their black and white rules can't contain the complexities of real life. And the fans know it. From Reddit to Instagram, people are watching closely, not just to critique, but to see how far the family will bend before it breaks. Will more Duggar in-laws step into the spotlight and share their own spiritual journeys? Will future Duggar brides also defy expectations? Or will the old guard try to reassert control? Either way, the Maddie baptism moment will be remembered not just for what it said, but for what it revealed, that the Duggar dynasty is no longer the tightly controlled faith machine it once was. It's now a patchwork of perspectives. And Maddie Grace just added her own bold stitch to the quilt. And what a bold stitch it is. In a world where appearances and doctrinal loyalty have long defined the Duggar family, Maddie's decision to be baptized after her wedding is more than a spiritual checkpoint. It's a declaration of independence. Whether she intended it that way or not, her post pokes at one of the last remaining illusions of the Duggar brand, that everything must follow a formula. The formula said courtship, chaperoned dates, engagement, public declarations of purity, and only after that, marriage and a perfectly aligned life in Christ. That includes baptism, of course, ideally well before joining the Duggar clan. But here's Maddie, flipping the order, telling her story in reverse, and doing it publicly. And the public? They noticed, not just Duggar snarkers but casual followers too, the comment sections filled with surprise, encouragement, and thinly veiled skepticism. Some praised her vulnerability, others wondered aloud how this managed to fly under the Duggar radar. One comment captured the tension perfectly. "This feels like something the Duggars would have quietly required before the wedding. So what changed?" The answer might be everything. This generation of Duggars is not the same one that rose to fame on TLC. Many are deconstructing, distancing, or disappearing. Jana remains unmarried. Jill and Derek are fully out. Jingers made it her mission to expose IBLP's toxic theology. And now Jason, previously one of the more mysterious, quiet Duggar sons, has become the face of a moment that might mark a shift for the whole family. Because if Jason can marry someone who wasn't baptized properly, what other unspoken rules are quietly falling away? Are we witnessing the beginning of a new Duggar era? One where obedience is no longer the currency of worth. One where daughters wear spaghetti straps without consequence. Where sons marry women who write their own testimony in their own words. Or is this just another example of selective rebranding? A move to maintain relevance while pretending the foundations haven't shifted? That question remains unanswered. But one thing is certain, Maddie Grace Duggar is no silent follower. She's telling her story on her own timeline, with her own voice. And whether you believe in baptism, rebellion, or both, she's just redefined what it means to enter the Duggar family. So what's next? More baptisms, more revelations? Maybe a new chapter in the Duggar playbook that includes grace, honesty, and, gasp, imperfection. Because if there's one thing this story proves, it's that the perfect Duggar image is fading fast. And in its place, something far more real. Maddie Grace drops a bombshell, baptized after marrying into the most religious family on reality TV. Fans reel, Reddit explodes. Duggar standards, questioned, modesty rules, ignored. Jason, silent. Maddie, glowing. The Duggar brand, cracking. And this might just be the beginning. What do you think? Was this a genuine act of faith or a quiet rebellion? Could this mark a turning point for the younger Duggars? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, like if you gasped at least once, subscribe for more Duggar deep dives, and don't forget to hit that bell so you never miss a moment. The truth is unraveling, and the fame is here for all of it.